Good morning. We are in Psalm 13 today, according to the numbers there, I think. But to be honest, I'm a little lost right now. So I think Psalm 13, that's what we're going to go with. So let's start in prayer from Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Amen. All right. With our tongue will we prevail, our lips are our own. Who is Lord over us? They speak vanity, every one with his neighbor, with flattering lips, and with a double heart do they speak. Man. Whew. Well, those were verses from Psalm 12, which I don't even remember reading last time. It's actually been quite a few days since I've been here. I had some car trouble again, and so I'm way behind, really. But anyway, apparently that's what we read last time. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord, thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever. The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. Whew. The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. It's pretty incredible. Sounds like us today. I don't know. I was listening to Gene Kim this morning he was talking about a lot of historical stuff, about the Maccabees, Julius Caesar. There's lots of good stuff. He's a great teacher, and not that I'm a good student, but historical stuff associated with that, and how Babylonian paganism, how that was influencing the Jews at that time. And it's very interesting, because he was making the point about both parties, about, you say all these bad things about the Democrat Party, but then you look at the Republican side and how Catholicism influences that in a lot of ways. And then you look at that, and that's actually either side of that equation, there's some form of Nimrod at the heart of a lot of that. And it was a very good discussion. He was lots of great points, but that's kind of what it's saying here in Psalm 12. Any side, everywhere they go, you have to get to the heart of the matter and really look at the face of it. Get really in the depths of it, and the guts. Yeah. And you look closer at it, and yeah, it's really what he's saying is true. It's both sides are broken in one way or another, Very scary, the days we live in. And that was when I left then after listening to him, but that was the last thing he said, was how the future, or prophecy and the past history, the beginning and the end are mirrors, or he didn't say mirrors, but you look at the history and kind of foreshadows what's going to occur once again, and then we look at ourselves right now and how we're hypocrites, Okay, Psalm 13. We're moving on, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on tangents, but very interesting. I encourage you to go to his channel, because he's a much better speaker than I am. Psalm 13, to the chief musician, a psalm of David. How long wilt thou forget me, O Lord? Forever? How long wilt thou hide thy face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long shall mine enemy be exalted over me? Consider and hear me, O Lord my God, lighten mine eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death, lest mine enemy say, I have prevailed against him, and those that trouble me rejoice when I am moved. But I have trusted in thy mercy, my heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. I will sing unto the Lord, because he hath dealt bountifully with me. And as you know, a lot of these psalms are written by David, and a lot of them will have his influence, his thinking maybe at that time. We talked a few psalms back about during the Civil War with Absalom, during his time of sin with Bathsheba, or maybe it was during the time of the census. His two big sins were his sin with Bathsheba, which Nathan, who confronted him about that sin, he foreshadowed what was about to occur with, I got a nasty cut on my thumb. I don't know if you see my thumb. It's really bad. I have cuts on both of my thumbs. It makes it very hard to do anything. Like, I dropped the camera as I came in here. It's really stupid. But anyway, think about instances like that. He commits this sin with Bathsheba, and he's trying to hide it. Nathan confronts him about it. Then it sets in motion all those events with Absalom, his other son that committed the sin with Tamar. Absalom sees that influences Absalom to want to go do this. You have other family members in David's family that are looking for an angle to manipulate David. There's all kinds of little hints of that. And how does that all influence, And so David, as he's enduring through all of this punishment, he's being punished by God. Nathan told him, this is what's going to happen. You're going to receive this punishment. This is going to occur. Everybody's going to see all your concubines getting defiled by Absalom in front of everybody. This is going to occur. The kingdom, So he knows all this is taking place. What does David do as he's fleeing the city? He lets that guy cuss him out as he's leaving. One of his mighty men is like, hey boss, you want me to stab this guy? I can stab him. I can stab him right now. And David says, no, I deserve this. Let him continue cussing me out. I deserve this completely, Even though he could have had him stabbed, he doesn't do that, So this psalm you have to think about it from that perspective. David is looking at himself, and he's ashamed of his sin, and he knows that this is punishment from God that is occurring, and ultimately his sin has caused this punishment to occur. It doesn't mean God has abandoned him, right? But he's asking the question, how long will this punishment go on? You know, and yeah, that was probably a pretty long time frame. Then there's other punishments that occur, with the census. I think um, there was a plague, right, that occurred as a result of that. He wanted the punishment to get over quick, and he wanted it from God, and God sent an angel down that wiped out, I can't remember the number, it's at least 80,000, but it's probably more. But David knows that God is merciful, and God can cut off that punishment. God could have made it 1,000,000 people could have died, but God stopped it at that point, even though 80,000 is still a very high number, I know, but I'm just saying he's confident that God can be merciful and God can cut it short versus a man. A man will punish, and how long will it go on? Putting your life in the hands of a human being versus putting your hands in God. I see David's logic. God will always give the correct justice, and then he will even be merciful about it. Versus a man, he'll take you to the cleaners and wipe you out completely, and then even after that, he's got everything, he's taken from you everything, and then after that, he'll take your dignity also. Sounds like a bully, That's mankind. It's just some rotten bully that not only does he take that away from you, he takes your dignity too, right? I hate that. It's another movie quote. But yeah, this psalm I feel like is speaking from that perspective of he's in the midst of God's judgment coming down on him, and he's asking that question, how long, Lord? How long will you allow this to go on? Will you come back to me, Lord? Please have mercy on me, Lord. I think we all can identify with this psalm. You make a mistake, and then you get punished for it. And then how long will the punishment go on to where you feel him again? Or is he right there, but he's looking away from you, But does he ever completely abandon you? Now, are you a Satanist? Do you lose your salvation just because David saw that attractive lady and went with her, It was more than that, obviously. He not only committed adultery with her, then he murdered her husband, But he stopped, and then he admitted it, and as I think Nathan tells him, God has already put this sin behind you, but now you're going to be punished for it, Same thing with us. You might be saved, but he's still a just God, and he still can't tolerate sin, and so he's going to have to punish you in some way, and that might scare you. It is scary, but that's the consequences of the decisions we make, But it doesn't mean he completely abandons you. He's still sitting there, but he's disappointed with you, All right, let's move on. Psalm 14. And plus, we have a sin nature. We have tendency in the flesh, as long as we live in this world, in this life, in this flesh, I have problems Talk about problems. Well, I'm sorry. Another movie quote. I guess not. But what about Bob is what I'm thinking of, you know. To put it simply, I have problems. I'm sure you have other problems. I have problems, you know, in relation to the sin nature, you know, things that I want to overcome. I want to get rid of the things that are separating me from Him. I want to be with Him all the time. But this flesh, you know, it acts out, and I make mistakes. Psalm 14, to the chief musician, a psalm of David, verse 1. Oh, okay, this will be a good one. The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. It's like 50 things you could talk about just with that. The fool, the translation of fool in that first sentence is insane. So crazy person. You know, you go outside, you look at the trees, you look at the birds, you look at the ecosystem, everything moving around. Especially you go out into the woods and you see everything all working together in there. You know, it's just incredible. Look up in the sky, look at the stars. See how small you are, and then reflect back on where you are and everything all around you. And then think about one other human being and how incredibly detailed. You know, look at this hand, look at my thumb. Think about the pain in this thumb. It's one thumb! And think about everything else going on, you know? And just, how can you not see? That's my question. Well, really, the response would be, why can they not see? Because they don't want to see. They don't want to be confronted about a sin. You know, I just talked about the sin nature and how we have a tendency to sin. I think the real Christian has a recognition that they do sin. And we do have, we're not perfect yet. You know, He's still working on all of us. I haven't encountered the person who's perfect and doesn't sin, you know. But I have that recognition, and I want to do better. I want to please Him. The person he's talking about here, the fool, doesn't recognize God because they don't want to be confronted about some sin issue. The person I'm thinking of, you know, I don't judge her, but she has an issue, and it's related to this. Why does she not want to be confronted? Because she doesn't want to give up that issue. And that's really the whole problem. So we don't want to be confronted about our sin. That's why we continue to deny Him. We continue to not recognize Him and to not recognize our sin and to conform to His standard, you know. Though I fail, I utterly fail, you know, because I am in this flesh. I don't want to be. I want to be in the Spirit. I recognize that. But I aspire to be in the Spirit. And I see Him. I see Him everywhere. In everything. I want to please Him. I don't want to disappoint Him. I don't want Him to turn away from me, as we said in the previous psalm. You know, I want to be with Him constantly, and I don't want to disappoint Him. So I conform to His standard. I want to please Him. The fool that doesn't care, they choose not to believe. According to this verse, they're nuts. But then the second sentence goes a little further than that. They are corrupt, they have done abominable works, there is none that doeth good. Abominable works. I think it's speaking of corruption. I think you could go all the way back to Genesis. Why did the flood occur? Because everything had become corrupt. I think if you go into the extracurricular books, I think it goes into more detail about what was occurring. And you see the same things happening now. You may scoff at me and say, oh, they didn't have the technology back then, but they had some form of it, I think. What does it describe in those books? It describes men that were really big, giants, that even started eating people. Really spooky stuff. And then they talk about hybrids of various animals and creatures, Probably where all the lore with I can't pronounce it. Centaur? No. Centaur. I can't pronounce it. Half man, half horse. That thing. There's an example. Or I think Pan is a half man, half goat. Right? There's more lore with that. That's the Baphomet, right? Which is another picture of Satan. But all those weird things, that wasn't God's creation. It's man's creation. Breeding a goat with a man, or a horse with a man, goat, man, bear, pig, half man, half bear, half pig. I know. That's the kind of stuff that was coming out at that time, and now we see the man bear pig is reappearing in Al Gore. So, as it was in the days of Noah, here we have man bear pig. There you go. But that's an abominable work. That's not what God intended. I don't think God wants me to manipulate something that He made perfectly. He made that horse perfect. He made that human being perfect. He made the goat perfect. And now I think you use what He created and you live. See, you're conforming to the perfect creation that He made, and now I want to conform to Him, to His will, to His perfect word, and I want to obey Him. I want to please Him. I'm living within the confines of His rules that He set down. Versus the person who says, no, I don't live by that. I'm going to do my altar. I'm going to create a centaur. I'm going to create a man bear pig. That's what I'm going to do. Take that, God. Abominable works, a manipulation. That's all Satan can create. Satan can't create anything. That's the whole problem. That's why Satan is so upset. That's why Satan hates me. He hates me. He hates all of humanity. He hates God. He wants to play God. He wants to create his own thing because he thinks he can do a better job. He can't. He's had his reign here. We gave him the keys. When Adam sinned, he had the keys. What has he done with this world? He's destroyed it. We've destroyed it because we allow ourselves, through our abominable works, that we are influenced into doing abominable works And then we destroy this world through the influence of Satan. Everything is perfect that God creates. It's just we screw it up through Satan, really, through sin. And it's really a picture. The Lord looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand and seek God. They are all gone aside. They are all together become filthy. There is none that doeth good. No, not one. There it is. Have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread, and call not upon the Lord? You know what that sounds like? That sounds like exactly what I was describing earlier. So they create these giants, which are the combination of a human female with an angel, which nobody's captured an angel that I know of, so nobody knows the everything with an angel, what that will produce, but apparently it produces, according to the Bible, it creates Nephilim and men of renown and super giants and so these giants, they got quite an appetite. You look at giant lore. Look at Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. The Cyclops and that kind of thing. Look out, the Cyclops approaches. All that. Well, Cyclops is not a giant. That's like Cyclops. I think is a different. Forget what I said about the Cyclops. A giant, though. A titan. A really big guy. Likes to eat people. That's what it sounds like it's hinting at, though. Who eat up my people as they eat bread. It could be directly talking about that, or it could be talking about it in the sin perspective, how we corrupt ourselves and then we get eaten up by sin, maybe. I don't know. Call not upon the Lord. See, they continue to eat and corrupt themselves and screw themselves up, and instead of going to Him, they could call upon Him any time and seek Him. You seek Him, you begin to live for Him, and you want to please Him. But they choose not to do that. Instead, they make centaurs. See, I can't pronounce it. It's centaur. Centaur. I can't do it. There were they in great fear, for God is in the generation of the righteous. There were they in great fear, for God is in the generation of the righteous. Ye have shamed the counsel of the poor, because the Lord is his refuge. Oh, that the salvation of Israel were come out of Zion, when the Lord bringeth back the captivity of his people. Jacob shall rejoice, and Israel shall be glad. Look at that. This is a psalm of David. Therefore, David wrote this psalm. And yet, he's talking about the captivity of his people. Now, is he prophesying their literal captivity, or is he thinking about their captivity in relation to sin? Isn't that interesting? There's so much in this psalm, we could talk for hours, really. I want to emphasize verse 3, though, and go back to my original thought about the sin nature, You who think you're perfect already, look at that verse in verse 3. They're all gone aside, they're all together become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Now, you recognize that you are a sinner, It's a reality. As long as I'm in this flesh, I'm probably going to sin. I don't want to. I don't want to disappoint him. I don't want to be separated from him, like in the previous psalm. That's what that was talking about. I don't want to be, I want to please him. I want to do what he wants me to do. But as long as you're in this flesh, where was I? What was I talking about? See, I'm brain dead this morning. I'm just emphasizing the point that I haven't encountered the perfect person, the sinless person today that doesn't sin, that doesn't make a mistake. The point is, you recognize that and you go to him and seek him, confess it to him, talk to him about it, get him to change your heart about this issue and work with him on that. Seek him. Instead of turning your back on him and forgetting him and start to make man-bear pigs, anything associated with man-bear pigs has got to be just totally screwed up, That's abominable works, making man-bear pigs. Al Gore, abominable. Okay. We're going to stop here. That's my conclusion. And we'll continue with Psalm 15 next time. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day.